Welcome to Sacred Harmony, where we trade burnout for balance and performance for presence. Tonight, we are joined by the brilliant Dr. Portia Preston, author, TEDx speaker, public health professor, and the force behind hustle, flow, or let it go. From academia to chronic illness, from hustle culture to healing, Dr. Preston has lived what she teaches. Her Sane Cycle Wellness Blueprint isn't just another wellness trend, it's a life saving calibration. Let's dive into how we can all stop running on fumes and start living with flow. Welcome to the show, Dr. Preston. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Mhm. So, you have spent your career studying public health and burnout. What do you believe are the real root cause of chronic stress today?
Well, I think there's several layers. The first is the pressure that we feel, what we have to do to survive in this time, um, in order to have your basic needs met, right? And so I think that puts a lot of stress on people in terms of their relationships and other areas of their lives. But yes, it's basically having more demand on us than we have the resources to meet.
Mm-hmm. Right. And how do these causes differ from high achieving women or those navigating chronic conditions like ADHD?
Yes, that's a great question because I think for me, having autism and ADHD adds another layer of complexity, even if my environment isn't wanting me to, isn't preaching that I have to hustle. There's a part of me inside that just feels like it always has to be doing something. And while sometimes I'm very good at using the techniques that I talk about in the book to help with that, there's just a layer of struggle that is a part of how my brain works. And so sometimes people will observe that you're being very hard on yourself and you're thinking, well, I don't have a choice. And for high achieving, like you said, and I try to think of that as like people who are just the output. I honor the output, right? Not even the achieving. So people who are putting out a lot of energy into their work, you can feel like I had to do this. These are the things that I had to do to survive. And why am I now being guilted for that? Or if I stop doing that, are there going to be dire consequences? So there is an additional pressure for both of those.
Mm-hmm. And it's striking how many people are praised for pushing through when what they really need is permission to pause.
Yes, I appreciate that you honor that. I think it's sacred and it's something that we really need to hear more now.
Hmm. And your new book, Hustle, Flow, or Let It Go, is such a bold title. What inspired you to write it now, and who did you write it for?
I wrote it for myself. I wrote it because I just knew I couldn't keep navigating the hustle without structure and intention. I originally set out to write a book on doing less. I wanted to call it Less You Can. And then I realized, no, I can't. And so I was trying to think about ideas for the book. And all of a sudden, that term just came up to me. It was like hustle, flow, or let it go. And I was like, yes, that's how I need to navigate life. I need to know when I'm in the hustle, what are the things I need to do? How do I know that I'm there? How is it impacting me? Where can I bring more flow into my life? And where do I need to just let go? So I wrote it for people like me, burned out professionals, but it also can be caregivers, parents, anyone who is tired of this one size fits all approach to wellness, is tired of hiding their struggles because they're ashamed of them, because they don't feel safe being human in the society. And anyone who is aching for authentic community in these times, wanting to reconnect with themselves.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And were there specific moments or breakdowns in your own journey that led to this breakthrough?
Yes, absolutely. There were several. So the first was when I finished grad school. Right after I graduated, I got diagnosed with kidney disease. A couple months after that, I had a blood clot. And during this time, my mentor was passing, oh, well, she was going through her final stages of lung cancer. And all of those things just showed me that, yes, you got this doctorate. Yes, you have a job in management consulting. This is not life. Like your life is your health. And right now, your health needs a lot of help. So I think that was the first, real wake up call that wellness had to look different for me. And I couldn't just keep pushing. And I've gone through several cycles, which I think most people can relate to. You don't just wake up one day and go, oh, I think I'll move slow. If you do, you probably don't read this book. But in more recent times, the late stage diagnosis of ADHD and autism. Yeah. I realized that I have to be able to meet myself where I am, accept where I am, and support myself, not shame and push through.
Yeah, and that transparency is rare. And exactly why your story feels like a mirror for so many silently struggling.
Yes, yes. And I was one of those silently struggling. In fact, I wrote a lot of this book while I was going through a depression. And not that you want to write while you're depressed. As I was coming through that time and recovering my voice, I realized I had an opportunity to articulate what a lot of people were struggling with. So as I was coming through my healing process, I really wanted to capture that on paper, mostly to make sure that I had the breadcrumbs if I ever started to lose hope again, to understand this is how you connect in community. This is how you get the support that you need. This is how you deal with the shame.
100%. And tell us about the Sane Cycle Blueprint. What are the core pillars and how can someone start applying them today?
Sure. So the Sane cycle, the best thing about it is very simple and easy to remember. There are 4 steps to spell out sane. SANE. S is slow down and reflect. Just be here in this present moment. We're often thinking about the past or the future. And so if you're if you're struggling with something right now and you're overwhelmed, just slow down for one moment. Be present where you are and reflect. Take a breath. Now, the next step, A, acknowledge your reality. Think about what you're observing right now in your thoughts. What is a reality? What might be an unrealistic expectation that you're imposing on yourself? And what may be something that's no longer realistic? So, those kinds of questions, just really acknowledging your reality and not just pushing through without reflection. And the next step, N, navigate with intention. This is where we want to create our process and we want to start really small. What is the first step I can take that is aligned with my values going in the direction that I need to go? And I don't need to have it all figured out because the last step, E, is evaluate and adapt. So we're always assessing how is this going? What support do I need? What do I need to adjust? And I love that cycle because it basically says you don't have to have it all figured out. You get to come to life as you are. And this is a framework that you can apply to help you go through uncertainty, change, unprecedented times.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
How do we stay sane in environments that still reward burnout?
Oh, goodness. Well, I want to tell you an interesting um, metaphor that I use. So we talk a lot about balance, right? And if you can imagine your ankle, I think there's something like 207 different parts that are moving to balance and keep you upright. So if we think of balance as having to move from one place to the next wherever we need support so that we don't fall, then maybe when we talk about staying sane, it's understanding the warning signs. Where am I being really hard on myself? Where am I pushing too much? Um, where am I in a toxic environment or relationship? And what are the things I need to do to come back? So I think that it's not so much staying sane, it's practicing sane practices to help pull you back. But yeah, I just offer that to say that you don't have to feel sane to do this. And that doesn't have to be like oh, once I do this, everything's going to be fine. It's rarely all fine. And we want to know how can we cope with that.
And that idea of creating internal structure when the external world's chaotic, that's empowerment.
Yes. Because it focuses on what you control.
Yeah. And you have written and taught extensively about spirituality's role in wellness.
Mhm.
How has your own spiritual path shaped your approach to healing?
Oh, I think it is a constant ripple. of just feeling supported and not alone in what I'm going through. Um, Reminding me always to just nurture my spirit. So, for example, before I got on the podcast this morning, I was making yogurt, and I stopped and looked at my strawberry and I said, I'm just going to sit here and appreciate the beauty of the strawberry. That awe is a spiritual practice. And so I think of spirituality as my faith, but also everything that I observe in nature that inspires me. And with such an expansive view of spirituality, I feel like it really kind of pulls me back to understanding what's important, what values do I live by, and all of that just kind of helps to keep me going in this world. And I also think of our spirituality as our essence, which means that we are all equal on that basis because everyone's spirit is, the same and we're worthy, no matter what differences we have on the outside.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And what would you say to those who feel disconnected from spirituality but deeply crave inner peace?
Sure. I would encourage them to know that they don't have to make their spiritual practices look like anyone else's. This is just a practice of starting to explore what would it mean to have connection to myself, to others, and to the world around me. So something like service, where you're giving of yourself for others, can be a spiritual experience. I think that there are some wonderful metaphors and stories I won't go into detail on, but some that I just kind of keep in my mind of people that have come through amazing times and kept their hope. And reflecting on something like that can be a spiritual practice. How do we make meaning in daily life? So I would say to start with something that feels accessible for them and to take it at their own speed.
And it's refreshing to hear wellness grounded in both evidence and soul. It doesn't have to be either or.
Correct. Yes, I think that wellness really should point towards our personal lived experience. And so, obviously, as a public health professional, evidence is important to me, but I also know that knowledge isn't behavior. So, I can know what the evidence says on how I should care for myself. That doesn't make me actually want to do it.
What's one message from your book that you hope stays with every reader long after the last page?
Oh, that's easy. You are worthy, period.
Mm-hmm, right. And for someone listening right now, in the thick of overwhelm, what's one step they can take before they sleep tonight?
Sure. I would invite them to just stop where they are for one moment and just take a breath and imagine that all of the problems that they're feeling, everything that they are surrounded by, visualize that this is not you. This is not who you are. This is something that you're experiencing. This is something that you're going through. And just having that awareness that there is a place that you can be at peace within yourself and not struggling constantly with the troubles of the world, I think is an important first step. It may not be easy. You don't have to sustain it, but just what would it look like to be able to step out of the pressures that I have and be able to see myself and be present with myself and maybe even offer kindness to myself?
That message isn't just practical, it's permission giving. And in a world full of pressure, that's sacred.
Absolutely.
Mhm. So, Dr. Portia Preston just gave us the invitation we didn't know we needed to hustle less, heal more, and trust that letting go is something the bravest act of self care. If you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe today's the day to step out of survival mode and step into your own sane cycle. Because your wellness isn't a luxury, it's your birthright. Let it flow, let it go.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Portia. This was amazing.
Thank you. May I share where people can find me?
Mhm, yes, please do.
Okay, so my book is called Hustle, Flow, or Let It Go, a guide to shame-free wellness that honors your reality and gives you life. And it's available at major book retailers. You can also visit my website, portiapreston.com. That's Portia Preston. And if you're on social media, you can connect with me at Dr. Portia Preston. That's DrPortia Preston.